Evening, everyone. Welcome in. This is Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, and I am your host, Josh Elmer. So happy to see all of you on this Monday evening as we are just 33 days away from Iowa Hawkeyes football now, starting to get especially close. We're starting to get right there, ladies and gentlemen. A bunch to dive into tonight. How much wiggle room does Iowa have with this 2025 schedule in order to make the college football playoff? Want to dive into that tonight. Plus, Cohen Intringer, we know, alongside Logan Jones, Ethan Herkett. He was at Big Ten Media Days to end last week for the Hawkeyes last Thursday. And why was he selected? Probably many of you know this, how the Hawkeyes go about selecting the participants for Big Ten Media Days. But why was Cohen Intringer one of those? We'll share some of that with you tonight. DJ Vonamy got placed on scholarship at a position where the Hawkeyes are looking for somebody to emerge at tight end. Does that tell us something about what could be brewing in Iowa City? We can kick that around tonight. Plus, CBS Sports, they shared what they think is Iowa's first loss of the season. Mark Gronowski makes his way onto a big-time preseason list. We got to talk about that and some bold predictions out there for the Iowa offense. But, of course, so happy to have all of you alongside tonight, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. I'm Josh Elmer. You can follow me at Josh on Ref out there on social media. But let's dive right in, shall we, to the topics at hand tonight. The Hawkeyes, they made their way over to Big Ten Media Days, and it had many a topic to dissect. But one of the items that caught my attention was Kirk Ference with the Big Ten Network crew. And he was asked, and we talked about this last week, but it got the mind turning as I listened back to it another time. Kirk Ference was asked, hey, how are you going to replace running back? How are you going to replace linebacker? And here was what Kirk Ference had to say with the Big Ten Network crew about all of those questions that exist.
And Harold's the first guy that comes to mind, Carson Char. But again, we got a group of guys that have all been working and competing. And this team, as much as any as I can remember recently, it's going to go through August before. If I wrote down our starters right now, I'd be wrong probably on 5, 6, 7 of them, I'm guessing, by the start of the season. And then I'll carry it into the month of September. Also, I'll go back to 08. Pat Anger and Stanzi both were second team the month of September in 08. And probably waited too long to get Stanzi in there. Me, that was my job, and I didn't do it. But anyway, those guys end up being great leaders in the program that year. And then our 09 Orange Bowl team, those guys did a great job. So I think we could see some of those stories as well.
So there you go. That Kirk Ference, again, with the Big Ten Network crew. And look, if we see some of those types of stories for Iowa in 2025, that's going to be good news for the Hawkeyes. If you have those Angerer, Ricky Stanzi emerging type stories, but it kind of led me down the road to ask this question. How much wiggle room does Iowa have in this 2025 season as it pertains to making the college football playoff? If it's a 2008 to 2009 trajectory for this Iowa team with some of the developments out there, well, that doesn't get you into the college football playoff, you wouldn't think, this season. How much can you wiggle around with in order to get into the college football playoff? Probably, right? That floor there is going to be 10-2. You got to win 10 games to get into the college football playoff, I would think. For the Hawkeyes, 9-3, it's just tough to paint that picture based on what the perception of Iowa is going into the season. They're not regarded by everybody universally as a college football playoff team, though they have the trappings maybe of a college football playoff crasher out there. But the expectation going in is not Iowa to the college football playoff. And I think to some degree with the rankings, human rankings, which I think do inform the college football playoff rankings at times, that works against you a little bit. You're playing from behind as it pertains to, say, Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State in terms of making the college football playoff. So probably a little less wiggle room on that front with this Iowa team. So all of that lends itself to, okay, if Kirk Ferentz feels like 5 starting slots could be up for grabs, 5, 6, 7 was the quote from Kirk Ferentz on that Big Ten Network desk of starting spots. Can't give you a starting depth chart tonight because there could be 5, 6, 7 names that we get wrong if I were to hand you one over today. So if that's the case, is this an Iowa team that it's going to take a little bit of time to sort some of that out? Obviously, we don't anticipate that being the case at the quarterback position with Mark Gronowski. We've talked all talking season long about Mark Gronowski, and he needs to be that guy that transforms this Iowa offense. And obviously that's the case. So that's not a position that you talk about, okay, taking a little time to grow into the season, so to speak. Running back, I don't think is that capacity either. I think you're in a great place with Kamari Moulton and plenty of good options behind that. What about linebacker? Jaden Harrell, Carson Shire, I think both have the possibility to be the latest Jay Higgins of the program and bide your time, and then you get your opportunity and you go out and you perform in a big-time way. And Iowa needs those types of success stories, but does it take beyond the Penn State game for that to happen? And if it takes beyond the Penn State game or the Oregon game for those types of development stories to happen, then does that leave Iowa on the outside looking in of the college football playoff? Probably so, right? So while it is nice to hear Kirk Ferentz say that you've got a bunch of healthy position battles and I can't give you a starting lineup, a starting depth chart that is going to be entirely accurate right now today, maybe to some degree, that's okay. And I wouldn't expect everything to be ironed out right here, right now, today. But let's hope that's not the case as you make your way to battling Iowa State. Let's hope more of that is sorted out by then if we're talking left tackle, if we're talking, just the depth behind Kamari Moulton at running back, obviously linebacker, cornerback, got to settle the situation there. So whichever starting positions that Kirk Ferentz is saying, hey, this could have an 08 into 09 feel where maybe we don't get the starter right to begin the season. And that's me taking a little bit of what Kirk Ferentz said and applying some of my own thoughts to it. That's not verbatim what Kirk Ferentz said, but that's how it played out, right? Where they didn't get Anger or Ricky Stanzi right straight away. It took a little bit of time before, and Kirk Ferentz told you, I didn't get those ones right. So got to get it right for Iowa this season. Don't have a lot of wiggle room. The front portion of the schedule, you got Iowa State early. Indiana, okay, we'll see how challenging Indiana is following the heels of what was a rapid ascension under Kurt Cignetti a season ago. That, of course, a date inside Kinnick Stadium on the front portion of this schedule that will give us a good indication of just how sorted out everything is. But I guess what I'm getting at is if you drop that Iowa State game, if you lose that Indiana game, well, now you got to run the table and you got Penn State, you got Oregon, and you've got some other challenges along the way. The emphasis is on Iowa to have gotten it right and to not have as many potential growing pains as you could have, in part because, look, this is one final season with Mark Gronowski. It's a one-year thing with Mark Gronowski here, and so it's not the same as Stanzi in that form or fashion. It can't be that ramp up to where everything around Mark Gronowski takes a little bit of time to get right. You really need or would like to have quite a bit of that settled, before you get deep into this season, if you're talking about a college football playoff appearance, what would be the first college football playoff appearance for the Iowa Hawkeyes? So I thought that was interesting. How much wiggle room does Iowa have? I would say probably you got to be 10-2 by regular season's end, just based on what the expectation is, the perception of Iowa is. That shouldn't be a factor, but I think in a human committee, it is a little bit of a factor with the college football playoff. So the perception of Iowa is not a college football playoff team going in. And so probably you got to get to that 10-win threshold. You got to start fast. The emphasis is start fast, can't drop games to Iowa State or Indiana to get into the college football playoff. And then I think, obviously, you got to pick off either Penn State or Oregon if you're talking about Iowa getting into the college football playoff. What say you? What is the floor win-loss-wise in order to get into the college football playoff? And how much does Iowa need to get this thing right early as it pertains to some of these position battles? Kirk Ference has illuminated the fact that they've got some legitimate battles that are about to take place as this camp arrives this week for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So they got to get those right. And how much wiggle room do you have? How long do you get to kind of tinker to make sure that you've got the perfect formula? Obviously, if Gronowski is good out of the chute, if Reese Vanderzee is able to take that jump that it sounds like Kirk Ference is confident he's about to take, maybe that can provide you a little bit of a growth spurt period on this schedule into, obviously, the Penn State game, the Oregon games, where it seems, though they're at Kinnick, it seems the biggest challenges on this schedule going in are for Iowa. Great to have so many of you hanging out tonight, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. I'm Josh Elmer. You can follow me at Josh on Ref. And, of course, everybody should be following the voice of college football at the VOCFB. Let's talk to the people here off the top before we get rolling tonight. Kenton, what's up, Josh? Go Hawks, baby. Number 48, Mad Max Llewellyn, set to be a dog this season. Agreed. Max Llewellyn should be one reason that you're very optimistic for what lies in front of this Hawkeyes team in 2025. That defensive line in general for Iowa, I think it's got a chance to be in that mix, though you're losing Y.A. Black. I think you got a chance for that group collectively, defensive line, to be in the mix as one of the Big Ten's best. And if that's the case, it'll need to be the case for Iowa to achieve loftier goals. But if that is the case and the offense can take some legitimate strides, we could be on the precipice of a special season. And that's really the hope, right? That this is a special transformative type season for Iowa with Mark Gronowski, with Tim Lester, and that it can lay the foundation for this offense, the jokes that happen nationally, the climb to 325 with Brian Ferentz, that all of that can be but a distant memory. We can put that in the rear view, and Hawkeye fans can celebrate a different era of Iowa offensive football. And if this defense is what it has been, or something similar to what we've seen from Phil Parker's defensive units over the past half decade and decade or so, then look, Iowa's got a chance to do some special things. Still trying to track down that first college football playoff berth in program history. Obviously, this will be the second go of a 12-team playoff. So that's why I say, the wiggle room, probably don't have as much wiggle room as maybe you would have thought. You want to get into that Penn State game unbeaten, and if you could pick off that Penn State game and be unbeaten through that, man, now you're talking about a legitimate chance to get into the college football playoff. John asks, can we score enough points to beat Indiana? I think so, John, but obviously we don't know a ton about this Iowa offense yet. We're still hopeful. The offensive line situation is one reason to really feel good about the Hawkeyes going into this season when you think about the interior of that offensive line and then Jennings Dunker out at one of those tackle positions. That gives Iowa a nice starting block offensively. I think regardless of how much, Mark Gronowski is going to be a clear, he's going to clearly raise the bar for Iowa offensively. That ceiling, he clearly rises and raises the ceiling just by stepping foot under center alone. So Gronowski is clearly going to be an upgrade for Iowa at the quarterback position. How much? How much does he upgrade the offense, and how explosive can they be? Reese Vanderzee, we're hearing a lot of good things right now, but physically sounds like he's much further along in that regard. And now it's about staying healthy, and it's in the doing, right? It's about going out and truly producing on a Saturday. And then around Reese Vanderzee, this collection of skill talent. Sam Phillips from Chattanooga, what type of addition is he? That obviously remains to be seen. I think Jacob Gill is set to flourish with Mark Gronowski now into the fold, because clearly this is going to be better. And the interior of that offensive line, some sorting out maybe to do at left tackle, at one of the two guard positions. You went and got George for a reason to help supplement some of that depth up front. So the hope would be that though you're losing Caleb Johnson, you're not just falling off a cliff with what you did offensively running the football last season. And if you can throw it, if you can now be legitimately a complementary offensive football team, able to throw the football to open up the run, it should do just that. So can you score enough points to beat Indiana? Yeah, I think so. And Indiana, right? It was a magical first year for Curt Cignetti, for Rourke and company. It was nationally a schedule that folks kind of maligned for being a softer Indiana schedule to race out to that quick 10-0 start before they met Ohio State. Obviously, taken out by Notre Dame in the college football playoff as well. So Indiana on that front has questions to answer of, can they go beat, if this is an Iowa team that is a legitimate top 25 team? And I'm not saying right here, right now, today, top 15, top 10 type Iowa team that's contending for the Big Ten championship. But if this is an Iowa outfit that is a legitimate top 25, top 20, up to that top 15, 20 to 15 range, then Indiana has some questions, I think, to answer about, can they go to Kinnick Stadium and win, right? Because you got to replace the quarterback. You brought, obviously, Mendoza over from Cal, and he was one of the coveted quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. But Indiana, I think we have a lot of respect for offensively what they're going to be long-term under Cignetti. But they have some questions to answer about how much staying power does that program have under Curt Cignetti. So do I think that Iowa can score enough points to beat Indiana? I do. I do right now today, though, obviously cognizant and mindful of Iowa has plenty of offensive questions to answer. Hawkeye Howard is in the house. Howard, what's up? Good evening. Hey, all my Hawkeye fans, no matter what, we got to beat Iowa State. Yes, I don't think I will get much pushback from Hawkeye fans on that front, that regardless of this, of if this is paint me a picture, Josh, to the college football playoff, I can't stomach another loss to Iowa State. So I'm with you. If it's just define a successful season for me, and I would say with the optimism going into this thing, that to me, 9 wins or more is what I would define. And I'm talking regular season here, add a bowl game win, get to that double figure mark, and all of a sudden we're talking 10 wins, right? If you can win a bowl game, regardless of if that's, Big Ten championship game or bowl game versus, whomever, if it's a college football playoff appearance with 9 wins, success probably has to include beating Iowa State. And I would say 9 games, just based on the optimism that I think Hawkeye fans have going into this thing. If we, not that it would be an entirely disappointing season if it winds up an 8-4 regular season. I just suspect that if at regular season's end, we're talking about an 8-4 finish, then that could include a loss to Iowa State. And obviously it probably means you lost the 2 home games versus Penn State and Oregon. And maybe that means that we're still talking about, here's what that record looks like for Iowa against top 25 teams. And oh, by the way, here's that updated margin of defeat versus top 25 teams. So to me, the barometer for successful season probably means you got to that 9-win threshold. And it would include, obviously, the context of how it plays out, right? Folks want to see legitimate offensive improvement, and I think that should be the expectation. Tim Lester didn't just walk through that door last night. This is year 2 now for Tim Lester. Tim Lester, I'm sure, told Kirk Ference they had, and maybe it was Kirk Ference telling Tim Lester, but I would imagine both minds coming together and discussing and saying, okay, we like Brendan Sullivan. We like Jackson Stratton. Love what we have on campus already, but we'd like to upgrade it. And so they did that. And mission accomplished. If that was, I don't want to describe it as a demand of Tim Lester, but if that was a want, which clearly it was a want for both Tim Lester and for Kirk Ference, that want, that need, it was met. It was satisfied. You went and got Mark Gronowski, who is an accomplished quarterback, albeit at the FCS level. Somebody that's thrown for 10,000 plus passing yards and a bunch of rushing scores and passing touchdowns too. So the offense has to be improved, right? However we define success this season, it includes competent, at times explosive offensive football. Let's see here. I'll have 2 bye weeks. We don't do very well after a bye week. I can't remember when we won a game after a bye week. Yeah, so Iowa's got the 2 bye weeks. You should do well after bye weeks too, right? I mean, that's kind of one of the hallmarks of great coaches. Hear that all the time with Andy Reid. Oh, he's great after the bye week. All this time to prepare and concoct the right attack plan. So that needs to improve for Iowa. You should be good. You get to rest up with the bye week. And obviously this Big Ten schedule, it's no joke. It's no joke for the Hawkeyes. It's a grind. So you should be able to make use of the bye weeks and then go attack your opponent afterwards. Logan wants to know, how's the merchandise idea going? I have Team Helmer, and Team Helmer is one of one right here. We're working in the lab trying to come up with some sort of merchandising plan. I haven't spent a ton of time, Logan, thinking about it. I'm just trying to get from A to B to C, 33 days until we actually boot off Iowa football. I should be a little bit more thoughtful and aggressive on that front, as, you know, obviously you look to monetize this venture. But really, my Jim Rome approach has always been have a take, don't suck, right? Isn't that the old Jim Rome saying? So as much as I can just come on here and provide somewhat quality content that creates a community that we can all enjoy and be proud of, that's the goal, as compared to me putting my merchandising hat on, though admittedly I probably should spend some time doing just that, Logan, and I appreciate you asking. Let's see, my man, Mr. T. Hink, Taylor Hink in the house. What's the most important game on the schedule, Josh? Penn State. The most important game on this Iowa schedule is Penn State at home. And I understand that you could make an argument for Iowa State early to be the springboard game. But look, as much as you want to win the Cy-Hawk game, it's not a Big Ten game. So that alone makes it, you know, not quite the same as the others. I've seen some discussion over the past couple of weeks, Indiana at Iowa as a swing game. And I think it was more from the perspective of the Hoosiers. I do think that's an important game too, because of what Indiana accomplished a season ago. And maybe if you're looking at preseason tiers of the Big Ten, Indiana and Iowa, I think last week or the week before that, we shared some of those Big Ten power rankings. I forget who it was from. And anyways, Indiana, Michigan, hey, hello, neighbor. They're all, 1, 2, 3 right there next to each other. So they're thought of in a similar fashion, Iowa and Indiana, in terms of if you had to power rank the conference, right? I think most feel as though the defending national champion, Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith, though, hey, there's obviously a quarterback that's being replaced and some questions to be had for that Ohio State offense. We all know and recognize that's a very, very talented Ohio State football team. I've, I don't know how many times sat here and told you guys over the course of the summer that Drew Aller, I have my own questions about Drew Aller. Can he lead Penn State? Maybe I'm hanging on a little bit too closely to the end of that college football playoff game, but I, for one, have questions about, is Drew Aller the type of quarterback that can lift Penn State to a Big Ten championship? Is Drew Aller the quarterback that can go win a national championship? I don't know that he is, but there's many out there that feel like maybe Penn State doesn't need that. So Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon thought to be in that top class. Indiana would be in that next rung down alongside Iowa, Michigan, and maybe a handful of other programs. Take your pick. So the Indiana game is a big game early, and of course it's before the Penn State game. And you got to be, in my opinion, undefeated going into Penn State if we're talking about – look, I've said here before, I don't live or exist in the world of absolutes, but talking realistically about kind of how we perceive these teams going in, the most likely picture of Iowa getting into the college football playoff includes the Hawkeyes going into that Penn State game unbeaten. But the Penn State game is the game to where you say, okay, against an arguably elite defense with all that talent scattered around it and players that can really make Mark Gronowski uncomfortable, that can go beat Logan Jones on the interior of this Hawkeye offensive line of if it's Peeper, who it sounds like there's a good chance that's, one of the guards, Bo Stevens, Jennings Dunker. That's a defense that could really create some problems for Iowa. And if you hold up well there, and if you go win the point of attack, and Kamari Moulton and company run wild, and Gronowski again handles that pressure-packed situation, and if you go win and you're unbeaten, you've already pocketed wins over Iowa State, over Indiana, and you go beat those guys who are thought to be this national championship contender, that's when we can talk about the perception of Iowa really being morphed. So for those reasons, I would say, to me, Penn State's the most important game on this schedule. But Oregon, again, another massive home date. I'm sure you don't want to see Iowa in that season losing at Nebraska, so that's always a game that is now a compass-type game to measure the success of the season, trophy game. But for me, I get one pick. I'm taking the Penn State game as the most important game on this Iowa schedule. What do you guys think? Do you guys feel that Penn State is the prudent pick for most important game on this schedule for Iowa, or do you guys view another game, Iowa State, Indiana, or Oregon, or another game as the most important game on this Iowa schedule? What say you? I'd be curious. In the chat, in the comments right here on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, Iowa at the Voice of College Football. What say you on that subject? It's a good question. Howard, the offense has me a little gun shy after that McNamara BS, and probably a lot of fans would agree with that. Edward says if we beat Iowa State, it sets a big tone. And we've had this discussion before, and I'm sure this is not the only Iowa channel that has, discussed this and made this observation that typically good Iowa seasons to great Iowa seasons, it's in conjunction with beating Iowa State. So, look, that's a big one in week 2, and of course, it's on the road. Rutgers, you're not going to get a vote for me on that one. Piscataway has been kind. The series versus Rutgers has been kind to Iowa, though it's obviously not a lengthy series versus Rutgers. you've beaten those guys every time. So should feel good about your chances there. Wisconsin, that if you asked me, okay, trap games on this schedule for Iowa, can you say that Wisconsin is a trap game? Can a trophy game be a trap game on your schedule? Because I'm looking at this Iowa schedule, and to me, Wisconsin is a tailor-made potential trap game for the Hawkeyes. You hopefully, let me paint a picture for you, come into that contest and you are 5-0 and you're trying to move to 6-0 before you host Penn State. And again, I'm telling you tonight, that Penn State game is the most important game on this Iowa Hawkeyes schedule. So I would say Wisconsin, to me, has the trappings of just that, a trap game on this schedule. Sticking, I guess, with that theme, if you come out of Penn State and it's magical and you're unbeaten, then the following week versus Minnesota sets up as a potential letdown game too, because you got Oregon a couple of weeks beyond that on the heels of it. So speaking of bye weeks, that should be friendly to play Minnesota. Hopefully you're coming out of that Penn State game on a high. You host Minnesota, boom, perfect coming out of that thing, and then you get a bye week before you get situated for another what could be big-time ranked foe in Oregon. Let's see, T-Hink. Wisconsin will be a letdown of the game. We lose if we do. So, yeah, that would be maybe a obvious letdown game type candidate. Penn State's absolutely loaded. Josh, if they don't win the national championship, which I think if they don't, it's a bust. The roster's crazy loaded. If they don't win the national championship, is James Franklin on the hot seat? What does not winning the national championship look like? Do they make a deep run to the national? If you get them to the national championship game, then though the roster, I would agree with you, and the landscape, right? The climate of college football going into this season with Ohio State, a turnover at the quarterback position, Alabama, same story there. No more Milroe when you just think about traditional powers. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. There's some legitimate questions with Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. So the national picture, Michigan, if we're staying inside the Big Ten Conference, Michigan, of course, like Ohio State, they've those two rivals have tag teamed to win the last two national championships. So if you can't take advantage of that, and you have this roster that over the course of the season does look to be what you just described it as absolutely loaded, then yeah, that's going to leave you with a bad taste in your mouth if you're a Nittany Lions fan. But again, if you make a march in the college football playoff and get to the national championship game, then I don't know. I mean, kind of tough to be on the hot seat. I guess it depends on if you don't win the Big Ten, and if you don't make the college football playoff with this roster, then yeah, I think James Franklin's in some big time trouble moving forward. He's kind of at that point where it's, or get off the pot, I would think, with Penn State fans. And this really ramps that up this season because they're forecasted to be that team, right? And not just by Penn State fans, but nationally, by college football pundits, by fans. Penn State is got to go make a march at this thing. So if they don't realistically do that, if they don't wind up doing that, then yeah, I think there'll be some legitimate heat that lands at the feet of one James Franklin. Edward, if we don't beat Penn State at home, we will beat Oregon, no doubt. Okay, so you're saying you're getting one of the two. If you don't beat Penn State, you're beating Oregon. I like the optimism. It'll be like in 2021, beat Penn State, and then you went out and laid an egg against Purdue. Yeah, don't allow that to happen. Nobody wants to see that. Okay, what else did I have on the docket for us tonight? Oh, why Cohen Intringer went to Big Ten Media Days. Got plenty more Big Ten Media Days sound for you on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live tonight. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to make this thing grow. And that's really my hope, is that we can keep growing Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. I'm Josh Helmer. If you're new here, happy to have you alongside Iowa at the voice of college football. And let's take a look back at some of the comments from Big Ten Media Days. Kirk Ference was asked, hey, how did you go about choosing the trio of players that went to Big Ten Media Days? And probably many of you know this. The players, right? Basically, the players got to decide this for Iowa. And, of course, they took defensive back Cohen Intringer. They took center Logan Jones, and they took defensive end Ethan Hurkett. But, why should I ramble when you can hear it from the horse's mouth? Here was Kirk Ference from Big Ten Media Days talking about, with a scrum of local Iowa reporters, on, hey, why Cohen Intringer was a part of this group and what stands out about Cohen Intringer, who I think is a big-time puzzle piece for Iowa, it looks like, going into this 2025 season. Sounded like this.
Our leadership group vote, have learned a few things over the years, and so used to be the coaches and players, and but I've just basically thrown it to our leadership group. They vote and let them select who they want to represent them, and there's no hidden messages, or it doesn't mean anybody's in the doghouse and that stuff. That's who the guys voted for, and I think it speaks to Cohen in particular. Speaks to who he is. He's a guy that has just impressed everybody in the program. He's got a great attitude, great work ethic. Obviously had to fight through a tough injury, a significant injury. He did it in record time. So, I think we're all optimistic he'll play really well for us this year. He's one of the guys I was talking about that hasn't played a lot, but I think is capable of playing great. And on top of it, he's just a great leader, a great young man. Same guy every day. I mean, everybody knows the hustle player everybody talks about, but that's who he is every day. He just shows up and works. He's got a great attitude. He was the same way when we recruited him. He's just a tremendous person. Got great parental support, and he's a great young guy. And all the players just think the world of him because he works every day. He is what you hope a player will be.
So no shock, Cohen Intringer, beloved. If you listen to Kirk Ference, right? Somebody that has commanded the respect of his Iowa teammates, and obviously not to only give credit to Cohen Intringer, because that is the case, of course, for Logan Jones, for Ethan Hurkett as well. But let's talk about Cohen Intringer a little bit. He's got to be a starter, you would think, right? Now, Kirk mentioned this, battling back from the knee injury that he suffered in the bowl game. And remember, this time a year ago, and maybe a little bit beyond this, couple of weeks beyond this in camp, Kirk Ference was talking about, look, I'm not a medical staff member, but this is record time for Cohen Intringer to have gotten back from the knee injury. But sure enough, he did. And obviously he's made plays and in bits and pieces, but now it's time to step up to the plate, to take over for Quinn Schulte, for Sebastian Castro on this defense, and go be a big-time playmaker alongside Xavier Wampa. And I just have to think that his teammates have a pretty good idea that I've always said this, that to me, and this maybe could be contested a little bit, but I believe this, that the best leadership in sports is production, right? Look, the characteristics, obviously, the personality of a man, of a woman, equally important. But when it comes to sports, right, to winning and winning big and commanding the respect of your teammates, if you can go out and you make plays, and oh, by the way, you're a terrific person, a terrific leader as you do it, to me, that's the best kind of leadership that you can have with a football team, with the basketball team. And I think Cohen Intringer, to me, probably has earned a lot of that credit and respect, commanded it from his teammates. So when you get voted to go to Big Ten Media Days, I just have to think that sets it up to where you're probably going to be one of the big-time playmakers on this back end of the defense. And let's hope that's the case for Cohen Intringer and for Iowa. The Hawkeyes, they were asked as well on the Big Ten Network desk, and this will be Cohen Intringer, this will be Ethan Hurkett. How prepared are you, and what's it like to play for Phil Parker and to have to meet that defensive standard? And it's a lofty defensive standard at Iowa. What's it like to be a part of that? And it sounded like this with Dave Revson on the Big Ten Network set.
I just think the greatest thing that makes Coach Parker so great is just his attention to detail, and he just demands excellence from regardless of position you are, regardless of where you're on the depth chart, whether you're a third-string DB or the starting defense end. He has that same standard of performance for everybody, and I think I can speak for everybody. It's just an honor to truly play for Coach Parker. He's such a great coach.
How does he convey that? The demands that he has, the expectations that he has on you guys. How does that come across?
I think it just starts with, every single year he shows us, this is the defense that we've had in the past, but then he reminds us, this is your team and this is your opportunity to make your own history. And I think Ethan can say too, we're just so fortunate to play with so many great players, and as long as we follow in their footsteps, it's a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, is there pressure? I mean, the expectation is that Iowa's going to be great on defense. I almost sometimes feel like it's dismissive, right? We say, well, we know they'll be great on defense. And in some ways, it doesn't convey how hard it is to get there year in and year out, how challenging it is to reach that level of performance. So speak to what it means to be a key member of what is year in and year out one of the best defenses in America.
It means a lot. There's a long-standing tradition of Iowa defense, and I think especially in a conference like the Big Ten, it's going to be hard in and out each week to play these teams and to really try to uphold the standard that we have and the standard that has been set by so many great players before us. So we definitely realize what that means, and we accept the challenge.
Thank you to Dave Revson and the Big Ten Network crew for an awesome sit-down. It's always fun to hear the players at Big Ten Media Days. I enjoy all of it. I like hearing from Kirk Ference at the podium, in the breakaways. There's so much to dissect from all of it, but it's always cool to see the players on the Big Ten Network set and get that moment to shine. I thought it was pretty neat, too, the behind-the-scenes social media piece that Iowa put out. If you didn't see it, the Iowa football X account, the official social media account. I'm sure it's on Facebook over there too. And we wrote a story, if you want to go check out our work, HawkeyesWire.com, the behind the scenes of that group, that contingent going to Big Ten Media Days was pretty awesome. Kirk Ference and Logan Jones and obviously Intringer and Hurkett. Those two guys, though, talking about this standard for Iowa defensively. Again, that's why I say, obviously, Intringer is a terrific young man. And I don't want to downplay, poor choice of words, downplaying just the type of leadership that the human being is. That's obviously gigantic in sports, in life as well. But the leadership with production, I think, is a real thing too. And when I hear Cohen Intringer sit up there and he's answering about, look, we have a standard to uphold, and there's something special about playing for Phil Parker, and he was voted on by the leadership council, if you will, of the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'm prepared for some big things for Cohen Intringer this season. Scott Henning is in the house. Hi, Josh. Go Hawks. Scott, always great to see you. Let's see here. Howard talking about that Oregon game. Oregon's got to come here and play at 11 or sometime in the afternoon. That's going to throw them off. And Taylor Hink tossing his name into the hat for, hey, I'd rather see that later on. I want that to be a night game. I likewise would love to see that be a night game. I got to jog my memory out there. Do we have any idea about the kickoff times for those two? I know some of those have I don't think we do, though, do we? Yeah, it's to be announced for both Penn State and Oregon. I'm looking at the schedule as we speak. We know that Indiana's 11, 2:30 or 3. The Iowa State trip's an 11 a.m. kick, so you know that's on Fox. So that's your big noon kickoff there. Nebraska, that's an 11 a.m. kick on CBS on Black Friday. So unless I'm missing something, Penn State, Oregon, we still don't know. So, I mean, I would think that you got a great chance for both of those to be evening kicks. And I think you want that. If you're an Iowa fan, I mean, come on. Give me the late night kick inside Kinnick for both Penn State and Oregon. I think that's the best recipe for success. Okay, a little bit more from Big Ten Media Days before we get out of here. Let's see. I thought this was kind of neat. You know, Kirk Ference is a couple of wins away from passing Woody Hayes for the most wins from a Big Ten coach. And obviously, you know, that's going to happen pretty quickly for Kirk Ference and for Iowa. And the Hawkeyes trio just reacting to, hey, what's it like to play for Kirk Ference?
I mean, that's just a blessing from God just to be able to play for an amazing coach like Coach Ference. You know, just the fact that he's been coaching for so long, just a testament to his greatness and his commitment. And I can speak for all my teammates, past and present, just it's an honor to play for an amazing coach. Seriously, it's an honor.
Yeah, what do you think makes him so great, Ethan? Like, why has he been – I think the word is consistent from where we sit. Why has he been so consistent year in and year out?
I think what makes him special in college football is just the fact that he really cares about his players. You can tell, especially, you know, after a big game, he'll get emotional, and you can just tell how much it really means to him. And I think that makes us just want to fight for him that much more. He's a guy that shows up to work every day. He's genuine. He knows everybody's name in the facility. From a freshman all the way to a senior, he knows about your family, and you can just tell that he cares.
Logan?
Yeah, it's hard because Coach Ference, he's been here for so long, right? And you see the players that have played here before us, they're a part of this as well. And we're kind of just a small part of that. You look back, you got guys like Bob Sanders, Robert Gallery, Brandon Scherf. I mean, you can name a lot more, but to be able to be a part of this small part of, you know, his career is truly something special. And I'm really excited for this season and that moment when he does pass it.
What do you guys think? Does Kirk Ference have a chance to pass Woody Hayes? Not just, I mean, he's going to pass Woody Hayes in terms of wins, all-time wins. As a Big Ten coach, he only needs to pass him. So that's going to happen. And let's hope it's in week 2. It'd be sweet, wouldn't it, for that to happen at Iowa State? It'd be the perfect place for that to happen. And I would love if it's in dominant fashion, though dramatic fashion would be pretty special as well. But what about passing the Big Ten wins figure for Woody Hayes? Is there any chance that Kirk Ference can get to that figure? The all-time Big Ten wins, Woody Hayes is, I want to say, at 152. And obviously, you know, Kirk Ference has a little ways yet to go to get to that 20-some-odd wins, Big Ten wins, that he'd have to get to track that down. But the way Kirk Ference is talking, you know, this will be his 47th season when you combine it with obviously the head coach that preceded him. So I kind of wonder if there's that even 50 figure that Kirk Ference is trying to get to, that even 30 for him to match the, you know, to work with in conjunction the 20 for Hayden Fry. Could you make it half a century? Like all of the different milestones and what motivates Kirk Ference to keep going. And there's a theory for there's probably a theory from everyone, right? Of what is keeping Kirk going besides he just loves football and he loves the challenge of coaching and the journey that each season presents. But could that even half century mark, is that a figure that Kirk Ference cares about? Or 30 seasons at the helm? Is that something that motivates Kirk Ference? And if it is, then look, he's got a chance to track down Woody Hayes in the all-time Big Ten wins figure by a head coach in this conference. If that is something that Kirk Ference, if he coaches out the duration of this contract, then, I mean, he's going to have a chance to get there on that. That would be pretty amazing. Obviously, he's going to pass Woody Hayes in the wins department sometime early this season. That would be that'd be pretty amazing, though, if he gets the Big Ten wins as well, beyond just the all-time wins. That would be pretty sensational. So this was, I thought, a notable quote from the trio of players that Iowa sent to Big Ten Media Days. They were asked, do you talk about the college football playoff?
Absolutely. I mean, our goals are to play until, late January, whenever that national championship is. But we realize the only way we're going to get there is, by winning week 1. And then when week 2 comes, we got to win that game, right? You're never going to get to your end goal if you don't focus on what's in front of you right now. So we just got to take it day by day.
Well, there you go. That's Logan Jones saying, yes, we do talk about the college football playoff. You don't always get authenticity in that regard. He gave you we got to take it game by game, but he did tell you, absolutely, we're talking about that from over inside the Iowa facilities, as that's a large team goal. And you don't always get that response from players. So I like to hear that. I think that's positive that the Hawkeyes are saying, look, the college football playoff is something that is an attainable goal for this team, and it's something we're trying to track down. Okay, let's see here. CBS predicted Iowa's first loss as we're winding down the program tonight. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. Check out my work. Check out the team's work, not just here, but certainly right here, Iowa at the Voice of College Football, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. Like, subscribe, share the channel, share this broadcast. That's the best way to help me and to help Corey Bratta and Mark Rogers to grow this, is to like, subscribe, and share the channel. If you're so generous, a super thanks, that would help as well. But at any rate, HawkeyesWire.com. That's where we're writing up a storm. Myself, Riley, Scout, Zach, we constantly are filling up the content department. And Riley wrote a story today. CBS Sports predicted Iowa's first loss on the schedule. And, well, it's not a loss that any of us will appreciate. CBS says the first loss for Iowa, it's at Iowa State on September 6th. That, of course, week 2. Here's what Brad Crawford, who has made the list, had to say. The Cyclones have a team capable of reaching and winning the Big 12 championship, while the Hawkeyes enter in prove-it mode as a road underdog. The road team has won the last 4 meetings in this rivalry, all of which were decided in the final quarter. Iowa hopes South Dakota State transfer Mark Gronowski fits immediately in the passing game. But obviously, at least for one Saturday early in the season, Brad Crawford saying, I'm not buying that Iowa has it all sorted out in the Cy-Hawk game versus Iowa State. So he's going with Rocco Becht and company versus Iowa in week 2. And he's going against recent history where road teams have been very, very successful. And obviously Iowa, as a road team in the Cy-Hawk game, has been incredibly successful versus the Iowa State Cyclones. But you know what, Brad, it doesn't matter what you think out there, because it'll all be settled in not too awfully long from now. So if we're 33 days from booting this season off, that's what, 40 days now until Iowa and Iowa State lock horns in the Cy-Hawk game from Ames. That's kind of fun to think about, isn't it? 40 days until Iowa State. Let's see. Casey, Edward, I think Oregon and Penn State will probably both be night games. Casey, what's up, by the way? Welcome to the show. Thanks for chiming in. Good to see you on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. Iowa at the Voice of College Football. DJ Vonamy earned a scholarship. This first reported by Hawk Fanatic. Want to give proper credit where credit is due. Rob Howe over there, Rob at Hawk Fanatic, reporting that DJ Vonamy at the end of the spring. So I guess this, you date back a little ways to DJ earning the scholarship, but I'm trying to think. I think that's the first I had seen it reported. But DJ Vonamy, no longer a walk-on. So the tight end has earned a scholarship with the Hawkeyes. And could that be a sign of production to come from DJ Vonamy? He did some nice stuff in the open spring practice. He was out there making some plays and looked like somebody that could help the Hawkeyes out. And I don't subscribe to the theory that you shouldn't subscribe to this theory if you've watched enough Iowa football recently or over many, many years. I don't subscribe to the theory that somebody that shows up as a walk-on can't go out and make a ton of plays for the Hawkeyes. So that walk-on label I look at as a badge of honor in Iowa City, and I never rule somebody out for a legitimate, impactful playing role for the Hawkeyes, and maybe DJ Vonamy's the next name in line in that regard. He has earned a scholarship, so congratulations to DJ Vonamy in a position group where, look, there's some questions with Addison Ostringa, with Zach Ortworth, and what that position group is going to look like, who is going to emerge, what type of star power do you have there. So maybe Vonamy is somebody that can seriously impact things for the Hawkeyes. I just love, too, the in-state kid getting rewarded with a scholarship. That's always a great story. One of the best moments in college football always is the walk-on, finding out, hey, oh, by the way, DJ, you're on scholarship, and the team goes wild. Everybody goes nuts. So congratulations, DJ Vonamy and the Vonamy family. A lot of hard work, I'm sure, obviously went into earning this scholarship, and you turned down opportunities elsewhere to come in and to battle and to grind and to develop and to be a Hawkeye. And now you've been rewarded with a scholarship. So congratulations to you. Still a youngster, a lot of roadway in front for DJ Vonamy. So who knows what is ahead for the 6'4", 240-pound tight end for the Hawkeyes that saw his way into 4 games last season, didn't accrue any statistics, redshirted, and that keeps him with 4 years of eligibility. So plenty, again, of roadway ahead for Vonamy. And we'll see if he's a serious factor for Iowa at tight end alongside Ostringa and Zach Ortworth. That'll be a fun position group to watch battle throughout fall camp and into the season ahead. Let's see. Do I have any final nuggets to share with you? I think we can just save them for Thursday night. We'll be back. Thursday is the call-in show. So every Thursday night, if you're new to this with me, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, that's the night at 6 o'clock that I reserve for you to jump in. I toss that link into the chat, and you can just jump right onto the show. Share your concerns, any questions that you want to bring to the table for discussion. That's the night to really just turn it into a good old-fashioned sports talk radio show meets Iowa at the voice of college football. So that's kind of what Thursday nights look like, and I hope you'll be back on Thursday night, this Thursday and every Thursday night at 6 o'clock right here, Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. Edward, why are you so dead set on getting the 11 a.m. kick for the Oregon game? What is the thought on that? Well, why do you want the early kick for that thing? Just because it's a West Coast team coming in and the body clock is going to say 9 a.m. That's, I guess, the thought process on that. I don't know. Maybe that's a big time advantage. I don't know. Even though it would be a little bit more inside the wheelhouse of the body clock for Oregon, I still like give everybody the full time, the full day at Kinnick to charge up, to tailgate. Give me that night game environment. I'll take my odds there versus getting Oregon early in a morning kick when maybe they'd be a little bit more comfortable from their standpoint, later in the day. So, but hey, it's a reasonable discussion point. Let's see. Anything else here the date for that Oregon game. It is obviously it's later in the season, so you're looking down the road for Iowa. That Oregon game, it's got a chance to feel a little breezy, and who knows, it could be, if it's a night game, could be a little brisk, could be a little frosty. Early November, can't rule it out from Kinnick Stadium. So that's what I'm rooting for, man, is it's frosty for Oregon coming in. That's my vote, is that it's a frigid day and evening from Kinnick Stadium. Let's make it feel like Big Ten football. Well, okay, that's going to do it for us tonight. Bennett Sturts, T-Hink, is playing in Vegas this week. That's what you're saying, Bennett Sturts over in Las Vegas? Is that right? I can't leave until you tell me. Confirmation before we call it a night. No night game after a curtain date on the calendar from Dennis. So you're saying Iowa has a calendar deadline for night games. Yeah, it just came out. Okay, well, sounds like T-Hink. I've got a story that I need to write about Bennett Sturts. That's going to do it for us tonight. We got so much more from Big Ten Media Days we could still share with you on Thursday night. But again, Thursday night, that's the call-in show. So that's your opportunity to sound off, to tell me where Colin got it wrong, or in this case, where Josh Helmer got it wrong, or just some thoughts on Iowa football, basketball. There's always a lot going on in Hawkeye land, so we can kick it around on Thursday night, 6 o'clock, and we'll have plenty more audio from Big Ten Media Days to share with you as well. Fun show tonight. So happy to see all of you hanging out. Again, like, subscribe. Please share the channel. If you're so generous, a super thanks. That directly supports me in Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. But again, liking, subscribing, sharing, and just commenting, engaging with the channel. That's the best. That's the best methodology for this growing and making it something that everybody, myself included, wants to be a part of. But until Thursday night, everybody, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for hanging out with me and with us on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. Iowa at the voice of college football. Go Hawks, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday night. So long.